Eric, and Eric, Nelson, Julia, and Gus on navigating the future of work in the Web3 era. Thank you.
Please have a seat.
Smart as well.
Clean your
Go on
eyes.
You
ahead.
have like
That's smart.
okay. Oops. All right. Hi everyone. So welcome to the next panel. My name is Gus. I work with Jordan from Heroes, as you can see, that was just presenting, and also founder of NEARWEEK. So we have, as all of these panelists, been experimenting a lot about what are these new technologies, blockchain being, of course, one of them, changing the way we work, and really like reflecting on this in this panel will be the main focus. Before we kick it off, we'd love to also hear an intro from you guys. So maybe Julia, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the heads up. Hi guys, my name is Julia. I'm HR director at Inc4. We do blockchain development and consulting, and also I do some consulting on my own for the HR direction. I manage a team of 100 developers, which was a team of 10 developers when I just came. So we've been through some scaling processes. We've been through some Web3 related changes. We've been through like setting up all the operations inside, and I feel like there is a lot of stuff that we're missing from Web2 just because we have this weird feeling about claiming that that's the past is bad, we've like survived that, let's forget that. We should actually transform stuff from that, our experience, and use it in the modern world, in modern team, and follow these new rules that would be created by the experience we've received. So my main approach here, when we're talking about the future of work in the Web3 era, is follow the rules, but create your own rules based on the experience other companies, other like markets are giving to you. In our case, it would be about creating the politics that will enhance your skills and your talents, and they will help you automate stuff you do not want to deal with. So it will save time, save your emotions, and it will help you to create new technologies that are really, really needed on the market.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. And very interesting stuff. I will definitely make sure we touch on some of those.
Sure.
Eric, I know you have a very long history, basically experience in work, from also serving as a CEO from a very large enterprise. So yeah, please
Thank
tell a bit
you.
about yourself.
Thank you
and
for reminding me that
yeah.
I'm the oldest in the room.
The most
Big respect.
experienced
Yeah.
one, let's point out.
So my name is Eric Abensur. I'm today an executive coach. I've been managing business in the past. I was CEO of technology and telecom business, mainly in the UK and the US. And for the last 7-8 years, I've been an executive coach. And I work mainly with young leaders and co-founders, not only in technology, but mainly in technology, and specifically for the last few years, thanks to NEAR Foundation and the NEAR ecosystem, I've been able to work with many leaders in the Web3. And as you have reminded everyone, I have a long experience, so I remember the Web 1, I remember the Web 2, and I'm so pleased to be part of the Web 3. And what I discussed with some of you a little bit earlier, I've remembered the mistakes we made at the time of the Web 1, Web 2, when we will make a number of promises that were quite identical of the promises of the Web 3, about decentralization, about transparency, about openness. And I want to make sure, and that's what I would like to do with Web3 leaders, help them make sure that we don't make the same mistakes than in the past, and we create a better world.
Thank you very much. Yeah, please, Nelson. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
sure. So my name is Nelson. I am, amongst other things, the global head of HR for Gate.io. We are a centralized exchange. For the few of you who might not know, on the side, I also advise and I consult for Web3 startups. This means that I work with Web3 founders and leadership teams to do everything from developing HR processes, people management, vision, and strategy as well. And I also sit on the advisory board for two Web3 growth platforms and a couple of VCs as well, which allocate me to Web3 projects on their rosters. So I support and I contact a lot directly with founders and so on, helping them take their people vision from 0 to 1. On both these scopes, we are often confronted with what will the future of work look like in Web3? What does the present of work look like in Web3? For sure, at Gate.io, we do our best, and I would say the bulk of our job is to educate leaders in what it means to decentralize, to distribute work, to hone and to manage people in a way that is truthful to the essence of Web3 and decentralization. And actually, we were just having a conversation a few minutes ago. I hope we get to touch on that. How often issues that come up with product and with delivery in Web3, you can trace them back to the preparedness or lack of from the leaderships and managing people in a decentralized way, but still very often concepts like distributed and decentralization get mixed up and confused. So I would say there's underneath the surface of many, many issues that we all know Web3 has, there is a people solution in there, and I do hope we get to touch on some of those topics today here.
Yeah, it's a great point that Nelson is making. Sometimes, if not often, there's a confusion between having leadership and having a vertical organization. And clearly the mistakes that we have experienced in the past is we have implemented organization very verticalized, and therefore we ended up what we have today, which is an internet controlled by 4 or 5 organizations. I think it's possible to deliver the promise of the Web3 and to have within those organizations of the Web3, your organization, a more decentralized type of organization while having a leadership. And that conflict that seems to be obvious actually is not a conflict and can be successful. And actually a number of organizations, non-web related, like Patagonia, have created very flat type of organization where everyone is very much accountable to each other, owning their task and creating very successful organization.
I totally agree with you, by the way, on this one. I don't know, did you notice, but lots of companies right now, the ones I'm talking to, they tend to decrease the number of management, and they move forward like more responsibility to some employees on their. They will like find the piece of work, piece of process they're responsible for, and they will be like kind of managing it, but it's not the exact like work of management. It's the whole process when you kind of pay attention to it and you feel the responsibility, and it might affect your decisions in future based on this work. So lots of companies try to decrease the management costs and times for the management and move to more responsible workers that are actually interested in the success of the whole company.
Yeah, it's exactly that. So we still have today the role of the manager being in some way the one who decides of everything, decide of the technical choice, decide of the performance review, there to resolve conflict, while actually some of those tasks can be spread out across the organization and have another group of people resolving conflict, making the technical decision by another group of people, and reducing, as you said, the number of managers, having a more flatter organization.
So zooming a bit out and reflecting on like the future of work in Web3, I think it's interesting to hear a bit about and frame the discussion around what is the big paradigm shift here? What constitutes this new paradigm shift to work environments we have had in the past? Obviously, we should not go through the whole human history, but I think we can agree that there has been certain tendencies, different technologies converge, the educational level, interconnectedness, what the internet has provided has already changed a lot. And now we have suddenly this public good type of generalized computer that you can deploy small programs on, smart contracts. You still have a lot of data that is off-chain, that you're doing regular interactions that is not on the chain. But if you also are working using these tools in your work process, you also begin to have a lot of on-chain data as well. And what I've seen, many different crypto projects approach that a bit differently. What is the on-chain thing they're looking at? What is the off-chain thing? To incentivize organizations or try to, look differently at the managerial vertical organization. So yeah, I know that's a lot, but I just specifically, like for example from you, Nelson, like give some examples on how do you approach this today, and like what are we actually doing with this stuff, and yeah, how do you view this?
For sure. So, like so much in Web3, I believe there's a huge long tail between what we can do today and what is actually being provided to people as a solution. And also in the job market, I think this will have numerous applications. First of all, let's take the front of the job search, for example. I wish I had the time, but I don't know what's stopping somebody today from starting a job marketplace in which everybody's CV there is an NFT, where you get paid symbolically for your data, for your information. Every time a company wants to get your experience, they go on there, they pay you whatever, a fraction of a cent, of a Satoshi, whatever you want. It's not for you to get rich off of it, but at least the principle of the job search is closer to the principle of decentralization in Web3, in which you get paid for your data, instead of some recruitment agency getting paid 15, 20, 25, 30% of your gross annual salary so that you guys can get hired, and their job is basically to promote a handshake, So the very basic principles, I think, of how we apply decentralization, even before we zoom into how this is applied in people management, yes. Not everybody here for sure wants or will manage people in an organization, but everybody here at some point will look for a job. So there is a huge base of the pyramid where we can apply decentralization processes in the future, the present, if you will, of the workforce, of the future of work. And so many opportunities are out there, just waiting for somebody to grab them, and it seems like it's just another reflection of one of the biggest issues in Web3, in which everybody's always so focused on the next big thing, the bleeding edge. I have these conversations with VCs often. The money is all pushed towards the tip of the sword, and nobody's looking behind to see the technology we have today, how can it be applied to so many people, So this is one. And then briefly, zooming into the work within the organizations, I would say that to the exception of DAOs, there's really no other type of organization that is competently applying the principles of automation, decentralization, using smart contracts as rule definition so that every one of us can work more effectively and then in a more distributed way as well. We were talking about the future of work and what that will look like. One thing I'm willing to wager, and just to make a bridge to what we were just discussing, is there's always such a discussion around, will jobs survive the future of work? Will we have jobs, quote unquote, in the future of work? I'm sure we will. One thing I'm not so sure will survive the future of work is the job of a manager, yes? I think Web3 will pave the way for lessons that very quickly Web2 and other industries will learn from to integrate in their own industries. And I think at a faster rate, we will see jobs be extinguished. We will see manager roles be extinguished because the more you automate and implement smart contract-like protocols in other industries such as Web2 or others, the more you will find that the need for a manager becomes smaller and smaller. And this is something we're already preparing for at gate.io, and I'm happy to discuss this as well if anybody wants some hints outside.
Thank you very much, Nelson. Do you want to follow up?
Yes, so that's where I would disagree. So I would agree on the end goal. I really believe it's possible over time to remove the management layer. However, I don't believe that would be only through technology that would happen. the reality is still today and over time, we are still dealing with human beings, meaning that we have personality trait, culture, education, all different. We have bias, we have insecurities. That's what makes the organization difficult to implement a decentralized type of organization where everyone is accountable. That's why there is a number of skills that are required, and there are those soft skills. We know them, we've been trying to implement them, but they are difficult, and from my personal point of view, they are absolutely necessary to implement if you want to implement those smart contract technology and the end of management. And those skills is, first of all, self-awareness. I need to understand all the bias that I have. I need to understand what energizes me and what drains me. I need to be a great listener. I need to be able to manage difficult conversation and conflict, because conflict and difficult conversation are necessary in an organization in order to create commitment and accountability. And those three skills, self-awareness, active listening, and being able to provide feedback and having those difficult conversations, you won't be able to replace them through technology. So, yes, but have those skills. And that's really something that I think all of us, whether we work in an organization as a manager or as an individual contributor, or simply as a human being, should master.
I really like this perspective, but do you think these qualities, they're still as important as it is in Web3 when everyone is working basically online, everyone in their random places, and all the communications basically some texts and emails? I mean, AI works perfectly for replying in a very polite way to something that pisses you off, you know? So you just can ask AI to reply in a way you want it to be, and do not really think on how to propose something, how to, I don't know, put your mind in it.
So, maybe I'm old and I'm with those old concept of soft skill, etc. But yes, on the contrary, I would say that the more you work in a remote type of environment, the more as a human being we make up stories. What is he really doing? Why she's not calling me? Why didn't me involve in that meeting? Why, etc. Why? So, and therefore, more communication, more effective communication are essential to really create the culture that you want to have in your organization. And those three skills that again and again I believe every human being should master. When you think that in school they teach us how to calculate, how to code, how to talk, but they don't listen. They don't teach us how to listen. I think that's pretty worrying, I would say. So those three skills: self-awareness, active listening, and how to manage difficult conversation are essential to implement, I think, the promise of the Web3.
May I just add just another thought?
Sure, yeah.
I fully agree with what you said in terms of the human skills needed today from managers, from everybody working, even in Web3. I would, however, bet, or taking from the what I see in my usual practice, this need for the humanization of the workspace, and therefore the need for people practices in the workspace, it will become less and less significant, I believe, over time. And we see this even whether with the projects I work with or at Gate, more and more, especially the younger generations coming in to the job market, they're not asking about the communication style in a company. They're not asking about the leadership style. They're not asking about what's the culture like. They're asking about what's the tech stack like? What's the communication tools that you guys use? What are the resource sharing tools or the project management tools you guys use? More and more, especially from Web3 or remote native audiences, I get the feedback that people regard work as a place not to bond or to grow or develop, but as a place to work. And that's okay. We try to promote some online gathering event or some buddy system for onboarding, and people tell me, I would rather just spend time having real beers with real people in my neighborhood, or, let me set you up with a great course for you to learn this skill. And the reply is, my university is Discord or Reddit, or I have online people who do this for me. So there's also this dehumanization of the workplace from the younger generations coming into the workplace. And whereas a lot of my HR colleagues tend to see this as an existential threat to HR, I think we should roll with it and say, and that's okay. And that's fine if people come to work for work. Our priority should be to meet expectations, not to impose what our expectations are of what we think people want, because then is when we will run into this existential wall where we will have this HR stubbornness, where we're trying to revive a dead body who's not responding because we're not giving them what they want. So to the extent that today people still require exactly this humanization and these skills of management in the workplace, I fully agree. However, I have a big question mark in regards to, not even if, but how long it'll take until this kind of dwindles and the workplace is a much more colder, dehumanized, and just robotic environment. And again, if we get there, that's okay. I'm not particularly concerned.
Thank you very much. I have a lot of thoughts around what you guys are talking about, so I'll just like take one from the beginning. So I really like the specific soft skills you talk about, Eric, and I think how I view an organization, any organization, whether it's a country, a small startup, is you need to have some purpose, right? The glue and the purpose, there's a certain amount of what's right and wrong there, etc. And how I think about small startup, that of course comes often from like a founder team, managerial, like embedding that, hopefully also like leading by example, if it's working well. And I see with smart contracts and DAOs a tendency that some of these soft skills, either in like the way the work process is organized, there are certain like, responsibility and certain obligations, etc., use rights. But you also have some of the same kind of values, but coded into like HR policies in a DAO. So I sometimes have seen like these soft skills still exist, but it's less person-driven suddenly because it was more like the founding fathers of the smart contract that did that. And I see like in like blockchain in the beginning was all about the first narrative at least, like trustless, right? Trustless tech. Maybe you need to trust the developers, or maybe trust the code if you or the developers that say they understand the code if you cannot verify it yourself. So I think which fits more to like verifiability as like, but at the same time, trust in humans' interactions is everything, right? That is the like soft skill that makes everything glue. So how do you guys see that? Like, how does trust play a role? Something fundamental trust in a Web3 area in terms of like, yeah.
I guess for the first time we've faced that at COVID era, when we first started working online from home, from whatever place you're at, and there was a stigma that if something goes wrong when you switch to working online, it's because you have bad managers. I don't think that's completely true. Like, something is wrong in your politics system, approach, etc., but it's not the manager, it's mostly the employees as well. So you have to cherish the employees that don't come just for work. So it's a whole different approach about motivation types and stuff, but people who just come for money, they won't try working hard for your business, for your success, for your team's success. They will just think about their own success. So trusting someone is hard, and usually if people fail you, that's quite common stuff, but you have to be as transparent as possible with them. That's the only thing that helps. You have to set clear goals, clear expectations. What do you want them to achieve? What do you want to achieve with their help? That is what important. And with that, you can like see problems occur much earlier. And that's the only thing that helps, as I think. What do you think?
Gus, you're absolutely right, and Drea, you're absolutely right. Trust is the essential. You must have a very good coach, Gus. So I think it's essential, because with trust, I come back to those difficult conversations that we need to have in an organization. I have the privilege to coach co-founders of a young startup, and as soon as they raise money, immediately challenge is taking place. And I do coach them at the same time in the same room, like a couple therapy. And it's exactly the same challenge. We have to build trust. We have to make sure that we have right communication, that when there is a conflict, and there will be conflict, that's necessary. It's human being. So we need to have those conversations. So there is the commitment, and then there is the accountability. So trust is absolutely critical. There are techniques to build trust, and they are necessary if you want to make your organization successful. For sure, you need a great product, you need a great technology, but the history of startup is founders have been able to work together through the difficulty of product delivery, product fit, pivoting, fundraising, and the one who have been able to be successful is the one who have been able to have those difficult conversations.
100%. And also from working with, okay, so let me be the advocate for Skynet here again, yeah. So more and more also, and again, agreed that trust is a key, absolute key concept and skill for founders. More and more, especially with younger founders, and maybe because knowing how to trust is not a very well honed skill, because you have to know how to trust, not just trust blindly. I might send some of them your way because they would benefit from having Eric shaping them and helping them in honing their skills. But more and more, I see founders having a bias towards trusting protocol rather than trusting people. So can we smart contract our way out of this? Can we run this as a Dowish Frankenstein so that I have to trust people less and trust code more? And again, here I go back to undeniably trust and these skills we're debating are major today. Question mark, will the dependency from these skills decrease over time? I think so. Because again, the trends that I see, and here I stand on the fence a little bit, but I see founders, and again, it's okay. This isn't good or bad, it's what it is. But I see founders having a bias towards trusting protocol rather than people, building success despite of people instead of in favor of people, and building also their process and their products in a way that's people-proof, in the sense that is failure or success will not come from the people in a project, will come from the coding and the protocols embedded in the project. So 100% today, we talk about leadership, we talk about rolling out product and developing startups in Web3, very still people-focused. Is this the trend to maintain and stabilize over the future, yes or no? Or will in a couple of years, we will be talking about this people-focused or culture-centric approach as a legacy approach in Web3? I don't know, but we'll be here to check it out. But again, if it turns out that we're building companies to be culture-proof and people-proof, much to the dismay of HR, then it's okay. And that's how we have to roll with it. So this is just another instance where I'm not sure if the reality and the needs we discussed today will be the reality and the needs that we will be discussing later on. And maybe in a couple of years, we'll be talking about embedding culture in the smart contract rather than in the people. And at the very least, it'll be fun to watch.
So I still have 2 years of work.
Or as many as you want. I mean, how fast can you learn how to code?
Oh, God.
Thank you very much. We are getting close to the end of this very interesting panel. I just want to ask you in the end, Julia, if you were participating for the first time at this hackathon, you were interested in industry, you want to get into it and also prepare yourself for the Web3 future of work. What are some advices you could give people? How would you see it?
I guess the main advice would be talk. Talk to people, talk about what you do. Like, you have to sell yourself and listen to people what is going on the market. It's not about the like business, money and stuff. It's also about skills. You never know which mix of skills is unique, and it sells you. You have to explain to people that you're unique. You will show them you can give something that they don't have. That's like only about being something people want to have.
Thank you very much. And yeah, thanks all of you guys. And I enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
And,
for having us.
Thanks everyone. Have a great conference.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's continue talking.
Thank you.